AI is just changing the game for everything. The brokers that are using AI now faster are just able to respond faster, do things better, and this accuracy. If you're off by $10, that can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this accuracy AI is big as well.
My name's Sabrina Romanov. Super excited today to be speaking with Justin Ferguson. He's a leader in commercial real estate, specializing in market rate and affordable homes, and he's also a sommelier. Awesome. So let the audience know a little bit about yourself.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me on your platform. Again, I am a sommelier. Really, at 5 o'clock, I become the wine guy for a lot of my clients. But during the daytime, I'm a commercial real estate broker. I've been doing this for almost a decade now. I focus on multifamily, so that's market rate and affordable housing. So if it involves apartments, multi-tenant development, or mixed use where there's a retail and a housing component, that's kind of where I'm at. I've been playing in that ballpark for many years now, and I drink wine sometimes too. So that's kind of what I've been up to the last decade or so.
How did you get started in the career in the first place? Like, what motivated you to jump in, and how have you kind of climbed up the ladder?
After school, I went into mortgages. Then I went from mortgages to selling homes, single family homes, and it's less numbers, it's more emotional responses, and that wasn't exciting. I mean, touring people around for days and they couldn't figure it out. So after that, I went into property management, much more numbers and returns focused. And I remember seeing a broker driving around town saying, "Hey, I saw this building, I sold that building, I know that guy," and just it felt cool. Like, man, if this guy can do it, I can do it. And then I jumped into brokerage about 10 years ago. This is a business where it's discipline and blocking and tackling and focusing. You want to find people that own property, find people that buy property. And whenever either one of those people think of real estate, your name's involved somehow. You have to keep doing it. You have to provide value. You got to make the calls, make 200 cold calls a week. AI does a lot of great things these days, but my business is getting in front of people, talking on the phone, in meetings, finding that human connection and talking about real estate. And it's just tried and true blocking and tackling every day of the week to get where I'm at now.
Yeah, let's talk more about that. So, how do you leverage AI to help you automate more tedious tasks in order to free up more time for you to develop those relationships?
Yeah, I think I'm a big believer in the 80-20 rule. 80% of the outcome is based on 20% of the work. And in my business, the goal is to talk to humans. And a lot of the owners who own these big complexes, and we're seeing a change from like the boomer to millennial, these are people that grew up on the phone. They know of AI, they use tech, or they have an assistant that uses tech, but they are old school, shake your hand, be in front of you. So they still want that connection. There's only so many buyers and brokers that focus on that. So how do I get myself in front of people? All these small tasks of researching your property, understanding sales trends, evaluating property, all these minute tasks that involve data and numbers and accuracy and speed. AI is just changing the game for everything. And the brokers that are using AI now faster are just able to respond faster, do things better, and this accuracy. If you're off by $10, that can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this accuracy AI is big as well.
And what tools do you use in that process?
There's a program called RealPage. RealPage is great for property managers and owners. Understands and pulls data on rent comps in the area. Everyone that's a part of this software, they share information and they can get data on what's the price per square foot for rent. For a one bedroom, or if your two bedroom has a washer and dryer, or there's a new kitchen or a hot tub, any of these variables that it's hard to quantify. We're seeing AI input all this information and try and find a level playing field so owners know that if you put subway tile backsplash in your kitchen, you might be able to get this kind of rent premium. Or if you want to do vaulted ceilings, like all these little minute things that really couldn't figure out before, data and AI is already inputting that and give you projections. So ChatGPT, home run these days, just taking complicated numbers. Owner would send a tax return or a profit and loss, right? All their income and all their expenses. I can put in the ChatGPT and it can help me analyze the data faster versus me going line by line saying, what's this expense? This looks weird. Why is your water bill high in this month? All these things that I have to scrutinize that takes time. AI is already doing that much faster.
And can you kind of picture in terms of productivity gains? So before AI, this activity would take you how long or how many people were involved? And then now with AI, what are you seeing in terms of hard hours of productivity gains?
Yeah, so a traditional timeline, if I got a profit and loss for a year, so we need a year worth of data from an owner so I can really see all the trends. Instead of looking at a snapshot to see all the trends from the ownership, right? Or rent roll tells me what are the current rents, who's paying what, so I know how much is being generated at the property. When I look at those two things, it would take 2 hours of time potentially to really digest all that data. And then I'm formulating questions so I can go back to the owner and say, hey, what's happening? What's going on? Help me explain these numbers because you were there and you lived it. Why are these things happening? So the back and forth with the owner, formulating an email and questions. So it's another hour and a half, and then taking that information and putting in our other software that pulls all the fancy real estate stuff, the returns, the cap rates, all that data. That's another hour or two. So one property is almost a full day worth of
Wow.
dedicated focus for data. And then once we have your property, we got to pull comparables and like what are your neighbors getting for rent and what's sold. So there's other companies that pull this data as well, but they can provide like, here's all the deals that sold in the last year. A lot of these don't apply to my property or may. So then another level of sifting saying, well, that property was built in 1970. That's 2000, not the same. This property is in Times Square. This property is 30 miles out of the city, not the same. So
Hmm.
like these kind of things that take time of experience as a broker to understand what are real sales comps and rent comps. This is a full day, and then I'm gathering data, then giving this data to our marketing, and then they have to make it look nice. Photoshopping for hours and making stuff look nice. So we're talking days of our lives here that are just way more productive because I can just do it faster and more efficiently.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like AI is able to help with a lot of that process from analyzing data, drafting
Yeah.
emails and questions and things like that.
I can't think of part of the business that AI is not really being involved as much at every point we can. So connection we're having here, AI is going to get there where it can talk just like me at some point. But a lot of my demographic or the older called boomers, that are the age where they know of AI, but they'd rather talk to me and shake my hand. So that's what I need to be doing for
Yeah.
that demographic. The younger demographic, hey, we're sending voice notes. ChatGPT does a lot of stuff easily. We're talking to Siri. So it's a good balance every day, almost every part of the business these days.
And are you seeing fellow commercial realtors adopting the same technologies? What's the overall temperature in the industry when it comes to adopting and leveraging AI?
Everyone's using it. Every broker that's moving and trying to stay productive is moving it and using it. We're just seeing different levels of integration. I think every broker is realizing that they need to use it, and we're seeing people integrate it. And at my level, I think every brokerages is already using AI as much as they possibly can. The thing about AI taking jobs, every brokerage has an analyst whose job was previously to just look at numbers all day. So AI is nudging that person to say, we have something that can do that free and faster. How can we utilize you, intern or analyst, to do more for us with other methods these days? So everybody's using it.
And how do you think about remaining competitive? So if the entire industry is using it, how do you continue to adopt AI but maintain a competitive edge?
Everyone has access to the same data. When you look at just sales in the beginning, right? You look back, decades ago, the salesman who was coming to your home selling you a vacuum, he had all the data. So you had to trust that guy, where that one person had all the data, and then newspapers came, and then the internet came. So today, everybody, old or young, can go on their phone and get whatever they want. I think now it's a level of how can you interpret the data? How can you share it in a way that people actually care about and resonate with? And how do you use it faster? So I can get the same data you can, but do you speak the same language to this client who owns a 10 unit, small, mom and pops versus a REIT that has millions and millions and billions of access? They're talking two different languages. So while we can both use ChatGPT to create a nice prompt, are you speaking in a way that sounds real? And are you connecting with in ways they understand? So that's a big thing I'm starting to see differentiate the new AI and the good AI people. So staying relevant is, do you have the means of getting in front of people and getting deals done? Which, again, if you're spending so much time doing on small remedial tasks, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is talking to humans. Like, use AI for all of that. I'm talking to more people, forming more human connections, while the other guys are still fiddling with Microsoft Word. Like, so that's like the speed and accuracy of like what you're doing. How can I be better at what I'm doing and delegate that? So I think that's how you stay competitive, is how fast can you figure out the new tech, use it, apply it in other ways so that you can do what makes you actually money.
So you're leveraging AI to help contextualize that information, which everybody has access to, but how you contextualize it and communicate it
Yeah.
to a certain investor makes all the difference. And also the speed of follow-up, I imagine, is a really big factor as well. And ultimately freeing you up to be able to do
Yeah.
what you do best and the most important thing, like really nurturing that human
Speed.
relationship, being the person that they like. Do you have any advice for folks who are interested in starting their own business one day, or generally when you look back at your entrepreneurship journey, what are some big takeaways, anything related to mindset that people should know about before trying to start their own business?
Yeah, listen, I'm a big Alex Hermosi fan. A lot of us are. At the end of the day, people don't care about who you are. It's really about what can you do for them, and that's a real cold-blooded mindset. But if you're in sales, you're an entrepreneur, you have to believe that to your heart. Saying, if I talk to someone and they want to buy something or do something with me, it's not personal. Like fear of rejection is number one. You have to move past that. I call it the crazy mindset is like, how many no's until I get a yes? If that's how you think, you eventually get the yes and you'll be excited. But most people are afraid of hearing that first no. Like that's the first one. And then being critical of numbers and financials. In commercial real estate, we say new agents and interns don't plan not to get paid for 12 to 18 months. And the curve is extremely steep once you get in there. But those first year and a half is spent hearing no, make 250 calls a week for their first year, and imagine hearing no. It beats you up on in your psyche. So no, that's not you. Discipline, blocking and tackling is, are you picking up the phone and making calls? And I think a lot of people get stuck in all the options. AI has also given people things to do that they think they're productive, but they're not productive. You were on Google and you were Googling like all these things, right? And you were think you're being productive. So AI is like kind of can be a crutch if you don't use it right. You spend so much time formulating and now you can get whatever you want from AI, but focus in your business and on your business. Are you doing the 20% that actually generates revenue? So that gets you your business to the next step is the main points here.
And what's your advice for someone who does have that visceral reaction when it comes to rejection? They don't want to hear it. They are fearful of it. How do you change that mindset? What, in your experience, has worked maybe from your observations of younger folks going through that process? What's that light bulb moment when they realize, oh, this isn't personal. It's not about me at all.
It's usually come from a place of fear in themselves. We speak with people who have really high net worth, who have lots of money and millions of dollars in their bank account, and there's this fear that that person is much different and they live a different life, and they may have some perks that the regular new guy may not have, but that person is a human. They have a property. Their property has tenants, income, expenses. Understanding that these are humans you're reaching out to. A lot of people are afraid because they don't think they're competent enough. They don't know what to talk about. They think the person on the other side of the phone is a monster where like they can't have a real conversation. Well, some of the people, a lot of our owners get called by brokers all day. So they don't have time to waste, so they're much more direct. And if you're more educated and keep doing your homework on the business, you're reading everything, you're digesting the data that you're pulling from ChatGPT, it makes those conversations a lot easier. And then again, the other side is it's not personal. This person doesn't know you enough. This is a lot of young guys. I'm like, hey, think of it as like attracting a partner. You don't know that this person likes you unless you talk to them. And they may say no. Okay, cool. But are you done? No, you got to keep trying. So we try and figure out ways of dumbing it down and like, it's not you. This person doesn't know you. Okay, no, you're moving faster to the next person who may want to say yes and do business with you. Those are big things about, it's a mindset thing completely.
I love that. My first summer internship was canvassing door to door to raise money
Hmm.
for the environment. So, like, literally in New Jersey, humid heat, I'd
Nice.
knock on doors, ask for donations, and that was a very formative experience,
Hmm.
which I look back on fondly now. But at the time, it was like really just walking from rejection to rejection.
Every
People do donate. Like, the better you communicate, the more confident you sound in your pitch. Sometimes I get 100, or sometimes I get 50, sometimes I get 30. And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, sales is really an incredible, I think, formative experience for entrepreneurs because you get that rejection a lot every single day.
Every,
And then you realize very quickly, like, so it's okay, number one, and it's not you, number two, and also that you can improve.
and door-to-door sales is even harder. Like that's something like you're on this person's property. When you open a door with someone, you're with an arm's length of this person, right? So I say if you can do door-to-door sales, and I did that many years ago, and in school I had a sales job, county fairs, and we're talking the rough county fairs where people are there just to have fun and drink. I was doing basement waterproofing. The idea was I had like 8 seconds. This person's walking by with a drink in their hand, having a good time. Like, hey, is your basement dry? What? So then you got them in, you form a contact. So if you understand the person doesn't know you enough to hate you or think it's personal, you'll be okay. And that's why there's not many people in sales because people are afraid of rejection. So I think what COVID taught me, and that's when I figured it out. COVID sat down and said, hey, we're going to pause the world. But how can I talk to my clients and people that's not fear mongering about what COVID is or isn't. No one's selling or buying anything because people think the world will come to an end. So like I just can't not talk to these people. So how do I build relationships not talking about real estate, the market, COVID, America, China, like all these things that I'm hearing on the news. So let's talk about something else. And that's really how you connect with people of what value do you bring them when they're not looking to sell real estate.
And so
A
is
lot of
that how
people.
you got into wine and wine connoisseurship?
Wine was I was drinking wine. I figured, why not get a certificate behind my name? And then I sat down. I did a calculation saying with a newborn, I had 4 hours of work a day. So how productive can I be in 4 hours so that I only made phone calls for 4 hours? And it worked. And when people were like, Justin, let's see what happens. I'm not doing anything. There's a pandemic. I'm afraid my tenants can't pay rent. I'm like, hey, do you want to get some wine? Like that's kind of how it started. Just let's talk about something else, right? Let's find a shared interest that makes us both happy. That's not related to money or kind of personal problems at that time. Like people wanted a way to break away from that, and wine and alcohol is a good way to do that.
Yeah, especially in that time period when you're very isolated, you don't have that strong sense of community anymore, and everything's kind of being disrupted. It's a nice, safe space for you to discuss and honestly just get your mind off of things. I am curious though, do you incorporate AI at all in your wine connoisseurship?
So wine is very rigorous in terms of the growing. The idea of all these vineyards and wine and winemakers and owners is perfection and accuracy. So AI is measuring the weather, measuring the pH balance, and we're using it's so much more scientific than people think. You're paying for that vintage from that distributor, that owner, because you expect it to be perfect. So winemakers are using AI at all levels to make sure their wine is perfect every year. On the sommelier and the pouring, it lets me study faster. So if I need to study something and refresh, I can ChatGPT 4.0 is conversational now, so I can talk to it and learn and be more engaged. I wish I had AI when I was studying because it would have made studying a lot easier. On like the regular consumer level, ChatGPT can do any wine pairing you need. A lot of people before would text me and say, "Hey Justin, what should I pair for this?" I'm like,
Uh-huh.
"Here's my thoughts," but like ChatGPT could do it better and faster and give you more description. So like, "Hey, we're making this for Thanksgiving."
Oh, really? So you
ChatGPT is
think the accuracy is actually up there for
I
wine
think
pairing?
it's pretty strong for the average consumer, and again, prompts are a thing, right? I think AI for like the average consumer for one is going to make things easier. It's really when you get up to the higher educated people who understand wine and really know the nuances of differences, because ChatGPT and AI is still pulling from like random websites where acidity could be off, or the tannin structure could be off, or I don't taste as much red fruit and strawberries as AI told me. So like those little palate things, it can't account for your palate, which is something that only you have to figure out how to do that yourself.
And is there any way folks are incorporating AI to market wines, like especially as kind of the younger generation? I don't know if they drink wine that frequently. I'm not sure on the macro, is wine consumption growing? Is it decreasing? And what is AI's role in that?
Wine as a whole is going down. Consumption as a whole is going down. People are much more mindful of sugar and alcohol, and they're doing other picks on alcohol in general. So we're seeing the alcohol world go down. People are doing more microdosing of other creative things these days, more mindful of empty calories. And I know that the older generation, they were much more into fine wine, the ideas, how it looks, the sensation, the aging, like the story. I'm a millennial, I'm 36. This generation is the wine good? Yes or no? And can I take a selfie? Yes or no? Like, does it look vibes? All vibes.
The bottle matters, yeah.
Yeah. If I go to your vineyard, can I take a nice selfie overlooking with the sunset? Like that's what people care about. So where AI comes in, like AI lets you learn how to speak to these people more. But in terms of marketing, like TikTok, getting videos out faster, TikTok now allows people to market alcohol. So that's changing the world of like, how can you get your wine brand out there? So I think AI and marketing for vineyards is going to be major. How do you get a industry that's on a decline because you can't connect with Gen Z, your product? You have to use AI, figure out content faster because the people don't understand the process, and get it on TikTok. You have to use AI because if you've not been around for hundreds of years, and if your demographic is one older demographic that's either dying or can't afford to buy wine, you've bottled your neck in a demographic that is disappearing.
And it's really interesting as this relates to what you were saying earlier about contextualizing the information for the audience and how important that is to be relatable, to build trust with that audience. And so I did not know you could sell wine on TikTok, though. That's news to me.
Well, you can market wines.
Yeah.
They changed the law a few months back about how vineyard owners can market their own wine. And it used to be the no alcohol in general, but now you can do more things alcohol in marketing related with alcohol. So we know how awesome TikTok can be for finding everyone, and you need to be on there. Any entrepreneur
Yeah,
should be on the TikTok these days.
yeah, I mean, for wine in particular, I can just imagine so many types of videos that would go viral on TikTok. It's a very relatable topic. Everybody wants to kick back or relax.
I think so. A lot of people don't believe in that. A lot of demographic for wine drinkers are on Facebook, and they're aging out of Facebook on Instagram. The Gen Zs want to drink wine. They want to do it. Wine has this kind of pretentious, fancy-ish about it, but most people are afraid of how they'll look if they don't do the right thing. So my wine content is like, hey, let me make it relatable to everyone, so that if you go into a wine shop or a restaurant or a vineyard, you know enough to feel good and look good so you can take your selfie and not feel judged. Like those kind of things. So I think AI is just letting people with wine do quicker research, understand how to order at a menu. Like one of my favorite things is I say, if you're at a restaurant, take a picture of the menu, upload it in ChatGPT and say, I'm ordering this. Which wine would be great? Those little
Oh, I
those
love that.
little details make life so much easier with AI these days.
I love that. Awesome. All right, yeah, let's shift gears a little bit. I want to make sure we talk about this topic because it's something I hear in my community, many other communities, but affordable housing. What is AI's role in affordable housing, and how do you see the upcoming market evolve and hopefully have more affordable housing for folks?
Yeah, affordable housing is a really big talking point. We're seeing a lot of really wealthy people start to get into affordable housing. There's a lot of myths around affordable housing. So AI is able to create these extremely difficult and complicated commercial real estate terms and make it easier for the masses to understand it. So affordable housing is just, when you break it down, a percentage of that person's income in renting. So that 40% or 60%, whatever that property's jurisdiction is, that person will not pay more than what they can afford to live there. And there's a lot of myths around affordable housing. How do you know what your average income is for an area? AI can pull that data for you. Building, construction. Construction costs are really expensive. How do we make affordable housing more easier to build? How do we lessen maintenance, get more proactive? AI, put all your systems in there, track, hey, this one unit is having way more issues with maintenance than your other ones. Use AI to be way more proactive with real estate and in most things. If you can be proactive with it, you can save money. Affordable housing is extremely difficult to fund and raise money for it. Most market rate transactions, you can get in and get out much faster. If you're going into an affordable housing deal, unless you're charging a fee up front or an acquisition fee or a development fee, you're in for about 15 years. So 15 years before you're really getting your money back from the deal, where a market rate fancy new building is maybe 3 to 5. So the investor that wants to invest in affordable housing because they like it, they believe in the mission, we need things to be affordable so people don't have to move hours away from work. AI is getting relevant data to say, getting affordable housing in your community, to build this, you have to improve the water system, the traffic system, you get to improve the infrastructure. And a lot of people don't understand that until they do the research. Real people understand that affordable housing is needed everywhere, and it's not a handout as much people like to believe it is, but we need these options for people, and AI lets me get this data to more people faster. AI lets me make TikTok videos on affordable housing faster. Again, it's just a speed. There's so much misinformation around affordable housing. Let's use the data that people are compiling and get it to everyone more accurately and faster so we can make informed decisions on why we need this type of housing everywhere.
And I don't know much about this area, but what are the main incentives for an investor to pursue affordable housing, especially with a return timeline so long?
I'd say the biggest thing is you're a nice human being. The next thing is, most importantly, there are a lot of government incentives to doing government and tax incentives and depreciation, and more tax incentives to being part of that. Most of the people that do affordable housing, you may charge a developer fee, of organizing and quarterbacking experience. So there is some opportunity to get some money on the front end. Again, the tax write-offs. Additionally, there is connection of different grants and other funding and being a part of this community that's growing everywhere. So, I think if you're doing affordable housing in 2024, 25, you're doing it because you love the mission. It's not the money game. It's truly how do we make things better. But there are several, incentives that the government gives you, taxes and those things of those nature that you do get back over time to see some type of return.
And for those folks who aren't doing commercial real estate today, what is the barrier to entry? Like, what does it mean to become an investor? Do you need a certain amount of net worth, or are there ways to participate? For example, if you want to support a group investing in affordable housing in your community, for example, are there ways to do that, or not really?
So the word investor is if you have money, you give it to someone else and expect a return, right? So, whatever you have, depending on where you're at, you could be a general partner or a limited partner, GP and LP. LPs are usually giving more money. They're getting a guaranteed return during the transaction, whether that's yearly or monthly at a higher rate. Right now, at least in Virginia, LPs probably make between 7 and 8%. So that's better than the stock market. Unless you're really excited and you want to go into crypto, nothing else is giving you like a consistent return these days around 7 and 8. Now, the other side of that is if you are a general partner where you're signing on the loan and you've got responsibility to your name on the dotted line there, you can make much more money on the back end. You can get into it if you have money or if you want to work with time and effort of like how can you get equity by doing work at the property. Real estate is something that can be really creative. How you get in. The easiest way is money, and that's kind of like the hardest way for a lot of people as well. Wholesaling is another one. Wholesaling, just being the middleman, finding someone who wants to sell, finding a buyer, and charging a fee for bringing them together. That doesn't take any money to start. That is purely marketing. To be a broker or a real estate agent in general, you have to get your license, which is a few $100s, the course and the class, and just hustle and make phone calls. So the barrier to entry for sales and investing is either money or time or both. So it's depending on where you're at in your life, how you can jump in at different levels.
But is there like a minimum threshold? Let's say you are an investor potentially interested, maybe most of your funds are in the stock market and you haven't dabbled much in real estate. Is
Yep.
there a way for everyday investor to participate in commercial real estate, or is it closed off to people who are doing like putting in a lot more money?
No, everyday investors are probably the most common. I work with a lot of, in Virginia, there's a lot of military people. I have a lot of people who are doing fairly well, good, consistent military-backed income, and they're after I retire, what do I do? So they have maybe 10 or 20 or 30. The number is really what you make out of it. Now, on the other side, if you want to buy into a property, it depends on what they want. So if this property needs $1 million as a down payment to buy and invest, are they going to look for people who can only give 10 grand, or do they want people who are only giving 100 grand? So it really depends on the deal, the syndicator. There's crowdfunding these days. There's trust where a lot of people put all their money into kind of a big portfolio, kind of like stocks.
That's like
Where
the REITs I heard about.
Yeah, so there's REIT, real estate investment trust. If you put your money into like a mutual fund, that fund manager is managing a bunch of different stocks. Well, like the trusts are kind of like for real estate. You're putting your money into a company that has 10,000 units, for example. So the risk, they're offsetting. If one property does really bad, the other can compensate, so you're guaranteed to get your money versus it's a small return. It's more guaranteed. It may be less frequent. Real estate has so many different slices. So, I guess back to your direct answer, however money you have, you can get into real estate, but you have to find the right person or team or company that is willing to work with where you're at financially.
I didn't know that. Yeah, this is really interesting to me. Wow, cool. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, this is great. I appreciate being on here. Cheers to
Yeah.
you, and thanks for letting me being a part of this. Hope your viewers find value. And
Yeah, it was really great talking to you, Justin. How can audience members find you?
great. Well, my website is www.justin-ferguson.com. LinkedIn is just Justin Ferguson, as you see here. So I'm on social media. I'm everywhere. If you put Justin Ferguson into AI, that I might find up. I've been very big that way these days. But at the very least, I sell real estate and I drink wine. And if that interests you, we should connect.
Love it. Thank you for joining me.